So hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me back out on the bank and we're in search of silvers on the stick float. So in recent videos you have seen me catch some nice nets of fish, and it's been mega going up to the banks of the River Ribble and getting plenty of bites. In this week's vlog we are going to the other end of the scale though. The little venue you can see behind me, I have fished before on the channel and I put a link to the top of the screen now, and we had plenty of bites that day on what was a nice day on the bank for such a tiny venue. Each venue that I go to teaches me a lesson in my angling, I feel, and this one, the lesson was most definitely that fish thrive from neglect. So as you've just seen on screen there, the venue is quite calm and placid and I haven't seen any fish top, and that does lead me on to the reason why we're here today. Sadly, in the summer there was a big fish kill on the venue and a local storm overnight, a drop in oxygen, and there was a big fish kill. So today we're out on the banks seeing what survived. The venue behind me could be particularly empty, or it could have some fish left. So as you can see, this type of fishing isn't for the people who want to keep clean. It most definitely is not. This all floods when the river backs up, so this is normally covered in water. So as you can imagine, when it drops, it's muddy. Conditions wise, if I was coming to this venue before the fish kill, I'd be dancing to me peg. It's got that colour to it that would have meant a really good session. So the plan is to go really light with the feeding today, and that's reflected in the side tray, but the plan is to put some maggots here, a bit of hemp here, and a bit of ground bait for the traction. And my mindset today is really treat it like a canal. That is my mindset today. We're coming today to see if there's anything still left, and any fish will be a bonus. So my biggest fear today, coming from the River Ribble onto a venue like this, is to get carried away, and it's very easy to do. So I haven't brought a load of maggot with me. We've probably got maybe a pint and a half there, and if we get through that, I'll be amazed. The same with the hemp, the same quality hemp, but there's probably half a pint there. And the ground bait you see me use on the river, which had the bread in and, you know, the supercharged, that's the same kind of mix, but it's been riddled. You can see there it's much finer, there's no lumps, and my plan is just to feed little nuggets of that. So you're taking all the big particles out, and as you can see on screen now, I've put a tiny bit of hemp into that mix, so I'm controlling the feed that's going in. It's all about today about not overfeeding the swim and just taking it super easy. Setup wise, we've got a 0.6 gram fine liner float, so nice and light. We've got 3 strung out number 4s all in the bottom bit of the rig, you know, to get that finesse and that drop of a bait in the water. We've got one of those little swivels there from Cordham, and that is down to a super fine 2-pound hook link and a size 20 hook. So you will notice that I have got me keep net in already today, which seems strange considering we don't know what we're going to catch, but that is all about a mentality thing. Over the years I've gone plenty of venues, big and small, where inside you know it's going to be hard, or you think it could be hard. I always put my net in because it gives you that positive mental thoughts that you're going to catch. As soon as you don't put the net in my mind you'd already half beat and resigned to not catching. Let's put the net in and be confident and trust that Mother Nature in this most robust wild of venues isn't completely dead. So to start the session, just drop it in right down the middle. I'm feeding a tiny little ball of that ground bait and a few maggots, literally 4 to 5 maggots into the swim. That float is a bit high, we'll have to dot that down a bit. That is all the ground bait that I am going to feed in this early stage. I'm not going to put too much bait in, just see what reaction we get. Oh hey. Oh, you don't know how happy that makes me. The fish kill was severe this year. There was fish dead everywhere on the pictures, but what a beautiful little fish that is. And in recent vlogs we've had some happy memories on the banks of the River Ribble and some memorable fish, you know, that big perch, them big nets of fish, but that little roach gives me just as much happiness as all the others. Normally now I'd go back in with like a bit more hemp and a bit more ground bait, but I'm literally just going to feed just a pinch of maggots into the swim, only 2 or 3. You don't know how many fish are in front of us. I'm just going to take it super easy. There's another one. They're bagging up. They are only small, but yeah, 2 bites in 2 casts. Another diddy little roach. Let's go straight back in because that bite was really quick. I'm not going to feed any bait this time because one of my concerns at the moment is you're just catching what might be in front of you. And like I say, on this venue in the past you would catch all day, especially with these conditions, and the, you know, the water clarity today would be perfect. And there we go, there's another one. That's a bit bigger, that one. I mean, slightly. So 3 bites in 3 casts, and what a beautiful roach that is. Like I've said on the channel in the past, it always reminds me of a lure I had as a kid, a Toby. They always had that shimmer to them. It weighed a ton and I almost lost it on the canal because it was that heavy. But when we're a kid, we just make memories, don't we? So let's go straight back in. I'm just going to feed a tiny little bit of maggot again. Probably too far upstream that, but they are falling at a nice angle. It is quite a deep swim, you know, when you think it's only a little brook. And right over where we fed that ground bait, we're getting the bites most definitely. They are right on top of it. So this is where in the past now I would have, you know, been feeding, you know, quite positively now and putting a few maggots in. But I just want to see how it develops to begin with. And this one's just a slightly bit bigger, I say marginally. And all the bites we're getting at the moment are of the same size, but it's great to see. And one thing it does mean, the venue has definitely got a future beyond that fish kill. There we go, you can see there just how the bites are all coming over that area and that line that we put the bait in. And again, even though it's only a small little brook, it's all about them columns of bait. The same rules apply. And it all going down the same line, these fish are all lined up. So striking into the next fish, it does feel slightly bit bigger. And I guess the session today is like an assessment of the venue, and if we're looking at year classes or, you know, the fish coming through, there's definitely different sizes. That's again a slightly better one. So just struck into that bite a bit further down the swim. It did roll on for a bit and it is a slightly better one again. Certainly putting up a little bit of a battle. And look at that for the plump roach. Yeah, that is in fine fettle, that one. And one thing that's great to see, you know, there's plenty of roach and there's some predators behind them survived as well. So there's a bit of diversity still left in this tiny brook. And while I've been sat here today, he's just disappeared behind that log, but there is a decent sized rat. Keeps going up and down here. And I guess of all the venues that you go, you should always have wheels disease, I think it is, on your mind, and I most certainly do when I go. But on places like this, you've got to be extra careful. And a different species to add to the list, my favourite, Mr. Dace. There isn't loads of these in the water historically, but great to see some have survived. So conditions wise, you couldn't hope for any better. It's overcast, the little brook's got colour in it, but after that frantic start, it has gone a bit quieter. As I say that, the float's going through and I think we've got a bite, but it definitely has slowed down. And in the last half an hour, the bites have been less frantic. There's still 1 or 2 coming though, nice and steady, but nowhere near the start. I've just got up to stretch my legs, and this tree here most definitely has got a story to tell. A few years ago, my uncle was sat right there and he cut back a tiny little bush, something maybe like that in the distance there, just so he could get his box on. The next year we come back, it had grown into a much bigger one. Fast forward 2 years, it had turned into a full grown tree, and sadly it looks like it's come to its end now. It's gone over. But every time me and my uncle come here, we always look at that little tree and go, my God, do you remember that day you cut it down, come back the next year, and it was a full-grown tree? And in recent years, more than ever, I've realised it's more important the people that you choose to spend the time with. There's good and bad in every walk of life, but in fishing, it's definitely best to avoid the bad. Stick with the good and the ones that create memories that you look back on like that and can laugh about. And earlier on, we talked about Rolando, and there he goes. He's been up and down this bank all day long. And it has been great fun today catching these fish on what's been a bit of a childhood session. We'll call that one the last one of the session. It's time to pack in, have a look at that final net, and go and pick the kids up from school. So towards the end of the session, we did continue to pick up a few more bites, but it was noticeable that the swim did die a bit towards the end. As you can see on screen now though, we have had plenty of bites on this short session. So when we set out on the session today, we didn't really know what we were going to catch or the venue behind me would hold. Looking back, it's been great to see that the heartbeat of this little brook has not gone out. It's continuing to pump away, and today's session, although only 3 hours long, does show that there's plenty of species still in the venue, and most of all, it's got a future. So outside fishing, there is plenty going on and plenty of upheaval with my work, and this video today has hopefully shown that even in the hardest of times and the most difficult of times, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and things do carry on, and who knows, in the months to come or years to come, this venue could get back to its very best. All that remains for me to do now is to wish you all tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.